Please provide examples of consequences that have research support. Detention doesn't work, removal from recess doesn't work, chopping off little fingers doesn't work. Okay, there are two important themes. Two important themes here. The old way of thinking about behavior support is all about consequences. And I really want you to take a deep breath, because this is going to be really hard for your faculty and staff. Everybody thinks when you talk about discipline or behavior support, it's what do we do to her when she does that next, right? And in many ways, the idea is you reward things you want and you punish and ignore things you don't. That's the consequence version. I want you to worry about that, because remember, the very first thing, first principle of positive behavior support is prevention. So anytime somebody talks about problem behavior, the first thing is always, how do you prevent it? Now, once you deal with prevention, then I want you to be thinking about, well, what do you do in terms of the consequences? Remember, the bottom line is the use of negative consequences is not a tactic for changing behavior. The use of negative consequences is not a tactic for changing behavior. If you want to change what they do, you define what you want, you teach what you want, you acknowledge what you want, and you prevent alternatives from being rewarded. That's what you do. Now, the reason for negative consequences, come back to what's the reason for negative consequences. The very first reason is to teach. This is not okay, this is okay. So, look, because you're engaging in this behavior, you clearly haven't learned the discrimination. This is okay and this is not okay. So this is an example of what is not being respectful. This is an example of not being responsible. That's the first. Second thing, and probably the biggest, you use negative consequences to decrease the likelihood the behavior will be rewarded. Now I want you to think about that over and over again. Remember, of all the things that I want you to take away around consequences, the biggest mistake that we make, not as individuals, but as a field, is we create environments where problem behavior is consistently rewarded. Come away with this as the big idea. Behavior support is not about reaching inside the child and altering her behavioral DNA, right? We can't exorcise rudeness, right? Behavior support is the creation of effective environments. Create the environment in which she can be successful. That's what I want you to do. And I want you to use what you know about good teaching. I want you to use what you know about behavioral systems to say, what's the environment in which she's going to be successful? That's what behavior support is all about. So let me give you an example. So one middle school that I worked with, actually I like this a lot. One middle school that I worked with had my man Derek. Derek is a 7th grader, right? And Derek was sent to the office 82 times in one academic year, right? 82 times. Now, you got to be sitting there being the assistant principal, maybe by office referral 20. Certainly by office referral 50. You got to be saying this isn't working. Okay? But here's what happens, and we all are guilty of this. Administrators, behavior specialists, we didn't give the people in that school alternatives. The only thing they had was one hammer. And they used that hammer over and over and over and over because it's the only tool they had, right? So part of what I want you to do is I want you to create more tools. The very first one, if Derek is being sent to the office a whole lot, we aren't being adequately preventive. Don't think about what you're going to do to him when he does it next. Think about what you're going to do between problem behavior bouts, not what happens during a problem behavior bout. The other thing, I got to tell you, I was actually there. I was in the office for office referral 43. You know, we all know good old office referral 43. So I was there, and I was getting ready to meet with the assistant principal. Door flies open. Derek comes in, hey, I got sent to the office, I was behaving weirdly, I feel bad about how I was doing, and I'm sorry the other kids felt that way, I'm going to do a better job next time. Julia, how are you? Are you feeling better? Your daughter okay? It's good to see you. You're all right. Melissa, I don't know you. What are you in for? It's the blue form that goes to Mrs. Elliott. It's the blue form. You got the wrong one. I'll help you out there. Okay, you got that? Now, I got to tell you, we're actually having a video. We're having a video in class today, so I don't want to miss the end because I want to see that. So anyway, I'm going to go back. I'll probably be back up later in the afternoon. But, hey, y'all are doing a good job. I'm going to try and do a better job next time. I'll see you. Okay? He walked. I'm not making this up. He walked out of the room, and the secretary looked at me and said, "This isn't working." I said, "Good." Okay. Now, so here's the deal. Detention works. Being removed from recess works, but they work in this way. Decrease the likelihood that the behavior will be reinforced. Increase the likelihood that the kid understands the discrimination of what's okay and what's not okay. And use negative consequences to prevent the behavior of one child from preventing instruction to occur with all the others. What I want you to stop doing, do not use negative consequences to change behavior. They are a component, but they're not going to be sufficient, right? So part of what I want you to do, when you think about what are the consequences, in most cases, the consequences you're using are just fine. They are not inappropriate. They're simply insufficient. So it's an excellent, excellent question, and part of it is you're going to really need to struggle because so many of our faculty think of discipline as what you do to her when she does that. From now on, I want you to go back. I mean, those of you who are into the language arts, go and look up discipline. The root for discipline is to teach, right? I want you to build discipline systems that focus on prevention. I want you to build appropriate behavior. I want you to help the kid to be competent, right? And some kids it's going to take more than others.